So in the album, I wrote everything except for one verse, a guest feature verse, and it's one of the best verses I've heard in my life. Oh my God, it's so good. I'm so excited I even want to name drop this person.
Today we got Cape Town's smoothest motherfucker in the stew. He went from trading accounting textbooks for drum machines and turned his hometown dream into a London billboard.
You kind of need to know what to not care about as well.
Crazy.
I don't care about opinions. I don't care what other people think.
We're sitting with LUUKHANYO, fresh off of a global deal with Jax Jones label WUGD.
The price we pay for convenience is connection. Now that robots are taking all the jobs, it's limited jobs for us. It's me versus you. I'll get this fucking job before you do.
He is counting down his debut album, Lucky You. We'll unpack how he kept his masters, why he nearly quit after a health scare, and how AI is entering the creative space.
Maybe right now, we're still at a place where we're not asking the right questions yet.
The kitchen's open. LUUKHANYO, let's cook.
Let's cook, my dog.
Hey, welcome to the latest episode of the C.Cast. It's an absolute pleasure having you here today. Before we get into the next guest, I just want to give you a little bit of an idea of what this podcast is about. We are about connecting creativity and technology to uplift the African continent and connect the world to Africa. What we do is we chat to members of our communities. We give them a platform to share their story and to share how they are connecting Africa to the digital economy and the world to Africa. So before we get into this next guest, if you like our content, I just want to remind you to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment down below about what you think about the conversation. If you want to get more involved in the community, you can also join the WhatsApp group by scanning the QR code. In this group, we'll be able to share opportunities, knowledge with you, and you'll be able to meet other like-minded people of the community. So yeah, we hope to see you in the group soon. Until then, let's get into the episode. So I have to ask, bro, who exactly is Twiz Alpha?
Dog, yeah, this is gonna haunt me for. So, and it's not even like I'm trying to talk about it actually. But Twiz Alpha was my first kind of rap name. Because I started like flirting with rap like from a very young age, relatively. And at that time, my favorite rapper was Lil Wayne. You couldn't say anything about Lil Wayne to me, dog. I had before we even had like Spotify and all this stuff, we used to like share songs with Bluetooth.
Bro.
And like when you go down to like my Nokia Express music, when you get to the L, it's just Lil Wayne, Lil Wayne, Lil Wayne, Lil Wayne for days. And something about that kind of, I think in some way, influenced the Twiz part of it. Cause I think from Wheezy, I don't know how I landed there, but someday I just kind of did. And I was like, this is it. And then I kind of just added the alpha because I just felt like it did something to the name. And yeah, that was my first rap name. I went by that when I put out my first kind of single under Twiz Alpha called Clouds Above. And I was on campus at the time in Stellenbosch, and it kind of started making some waves. And then, further down, the more I started to, play with this thing, it kind of got to a point where I was like, maybe this is what I'm really called to do. And I thought it was kind of fitting to then, change my stage name to LUUKHANYO, which also, means a lot in terms of the significance of what it means and also how that links to what I actually want to do through my music and my art overall.
That's dope, bro. So I want to find out from you, like, was there specific moments when you knew, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing? Because you're studying accounting at the time,
Yeah.
right? So, like, what kind of flipped the switch for you?
I don't know, dude. I always wanted to do this, and I remember like kind of telling family members, and because in my family, I was kind of like, I don't know, but they kind of felt very comfortable like throwing expectations at me, because they were like, ah, you kind of bright, and you'll get this like prestigious job and this stuff, and I don't know. Every time I mention the music thing, they'd be like, just keep that as a hobby. Let's kind of let the prestigious job kind of thing, take the lead. And after time, I kept doing this thing, but I felt like I was doing it for my family, not necessarily for me. And I think it was somewhere like even after I put out the first single as Twiz Alpha, where I was like, yo, I really feel very connected to this thing. And every time I spend time away from it, I don't feel like my best self. And then every time I'm playing with it and the closer I am to it, that's when I feel like I'm really alive. And yeah, that kind of just clicked from there. There were many moments, that kind of affirmed it along the way. but I remember that just being like a very pivotal moment, just being like, I think this is it.
Yeah. And like, were you feeling a lot of pressure from your parents at that
Of
point?
course, bro. Of
Especially, I'm
course.
sure, with the military background.
Of
Yes.
course.
Tell
Yo,
us about that.
hey, they were not having it. I remember like I I I knew I wasn't going back after my second year, right? And I spent that whole like summer just kind of just like having fun, not really talking about it. And they were like, "Oh, registration's coming." I'm like, "Yeah, it's coming up." And then I think like 2 days before I was supposed to register, I was like, "Yeah, I don't think I'm going back." And that was like, it kind of shocked my family, but I think from then on, over time, they kind of saw what this really meant to me. And although they were very reluctant to support it at first, but the more I, thrust myself into it and I keep like showing up for it, they get little moments of things where to them, it's starting to look like, oh, this thing maybe could work out, you know. And then through that is they're able to, be more supportive. And it's not like they weren't supportive from jump. It's just they felt that I wasn't making the right decision. Because I think my success for them, they had their own like idea of what it looks like, and I have my own idea of what success looks like to me, and those ideas were in conflict. So it kind of took time for them to see things my way, and even to this day, I think I'm still proving myself to them.
Yeah. Do you feel like, cause like, whenever you show up proper, bro, and that's the one thing that strikes me about your work is it's always got a certain standard that is kept. And even if you're, like, starting from somewhere where you don't necessarily have all the resources or the backing and everything, you've managed to find a way to, like, show up in a way that stands out compared to other people.
Mm.
Um, where do you think that, like, comes from? Do you think it comes from that, like, need to prove yourself, or is it deeper than that?
Damn. I think I pay a lot of attention to detail, you know, and I obsess over like the tiniest like detail, and I think that's just who I am as a person. So I think it's only, natural that it's gonna extend itself into my work. But I really care, bro. Like I wouldn't lie. This is not something that I'm just doing, for the sake of it. I think, well, this is very important. And although I don't feel like I'm a master at it, not even close to, I think this is my life's work. And the more I kind of like work on it, I work on myself as well. It's some like relationships can be mirrors, and when you're with a partner, you get to see sides of yourself that maybe like a friend of mine will call them your blind spots,
Mm,
stuff that you don't necessarily see about yourself, but other people are aware. And through engaging with other people and interacting with them, they get to shine more light on these parts of yourself. And it could be stuff that you need to work on or stuff that you're not embracing as much that actually makes you shine.
mm.
And I think having that relationship with art is something that I get to see myself through, a different lens, and I get to explore who I am and work on the parts of myself that I want to work on so I can be my best self.
Wow. Why do you care?
Bro, we have a lot of people who don't care. We have enough people who don't care. And I'm a very sensitive kind of kid, growing up, I always was. And even to this day. And I think being a man, I've always been taught that it's weak to show like vulnerability or to express yourself. And I think it's kind of the opposite. There's so much strength in really being vulnerable, being honest, and choosing to acknowledge and accept all parts of yourself, not just the ones that people, validate. And yeah, man, I think when you care, I think everyone cares, but it's just tough because you have to face parts of yourself that maybe aren't, the most macho.
Mm,
But through that, I think you get to have a much more well-rounded like approach to life. You get to experience life in a much more fuller way than if you just, you wanted to come across a certain type of way. You're not even being yourself. You're portraying this character that you want people to see you as.
mm. And like, do you think some of that care comes from like the background that your parents come from as well?
I wouldn't put that on them.
Mm, okay.
I mean, they care. Like my family's hilarious, and we're kind of like thick skinned, and I think I got that part from them. I know not to take everything personal. I know not to let things get me down because that's how we were at home. We just had to have like some thick skin. But I think it's just a part of who I am, bro. I just realized like I care about things, and um, I'd rather stand for those things than suppress them just to, seem like I'm everyone else. I think there's so much beauty in being, unique and being yourself. And yeah, I want to embrace that for the child in me who felt like they never had the opportunity, and hopefully inspire other people to just be themselves, bro.
Damn, so you're getting roasted at home. Is that where your thinking
Yeah,
comes
dog.
from?
Cause I was like, we grew up Sisekuks, dog, and everyone is like rocking skinny jeans and cavelas and all this stuff. And I did that for a bit, and I was like, I kind of like sneakers, I kind of like
Okay.
baggy clothes, I kind of like skateboarding.
Bro, you turned your back on the Skotane, bro.
Ah, dog, I never even was a Skotani, dog. I was just like, like I was like, cause your environment kind of like, makes you, I
Yeah.
see these things around me, but then I also watch TV, and I'm like, oh shit, I kind of like the stuff that's on TV. Can I swear?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I mentioned you're the smoothest motherfucker. Let's go.
Yeah. So I was kind of seeing all this cool shit on TV, and I was like, I kind of relate to that as much as I do to the stuff here, and I feel like I'm in between those worlds because also I moved around a lot when I was a kid, and I'd go out to different places in the country, and certain things that were cool in my neighborhood aren't as cool here. So it kind of allowed me to have a broader perspective where I had to ask myself, oh, what do I actually think is cool, as opposed to being like settling for what everyone around me thinks is cool. So whenever I come back home and I've maybe learned new stuff, like while I was staying in a different province, I come back, I'm just like, yo, this kid's kind of weird, bro. What are you on?
Yeah.
But that just gave me room to always stand up for what I fuck with. And then, yeah, now it's just like, I don't know. Like, if someone doesn't get the things that I like, that's okay. I don't think everyone should, but
Mm.
it doesn't mean that I should like them any less.
Bro, like as you're speaking now, you're reminding me of that analogy that you used earlier with the mirror, right?
Oh,
And like sometimes we see ourselves in other people, but a lot of the time we are reflecting other people back to them as well, right?
mm,
And I think that's where we kind of, as the new generation, especially with social media, where we kind of find ourselves reflecting what other people deem to be popular, which then creates this sort of like echo chamber where everyone's talking about this same thing. And what I love about your music is like what you're talking about now really like shines through in the work that you create. You are very like instilled in who you are as an individual. Like this is what you like, and you're gonna share what you like. You're not gonna adapt to what is popular right now. And I think that's like the trick to standing out, bringing it back into the conversation with like your parents and them having this expectation. Like, they also didn't come from a time when you could go viral and you can get all these massive opportunities, but you kind of have to stand out to be able to do that. You can't do what everyone else is doing.
yeah,
So,
exact. I said this in a different like interview where I was like, because my parents came up in a time in our country where black people didn't have that many access to opportunities and resources, and they fought so that we could have these opportunities. But once the opportunities came, they kind of weren't well informed as to how to take them, like make the most of the opportunities that they had. And I'm growing up in a different time where I'm more exposed to, the opportunities that we actually do have access to, and I'm choosing to take full advantage of those and not just be pigeonholed into this one idea of what success looks like, but choose to define it by my own terms. And I think it kind of just they need to take time to catch up to that because their whole life they've been seeing the world in a specific way. And and although I've been here for much like shorter time than my parents have been alive, I've gotten to see parts of the world that they never have. I've gotten to interact with people from different parts of the world that they've never had. So I kind of just off the bat know more than them, and not like in a way where like I know more than you, but realistically, I've just been exposed to more than you, so my perspective is a bit broader. And I think it's having that relationship between our generation and the previous allows us to bridge those gaps where we kind of teach our parents of where the times that we live in right now, and they can teach us things that are of value of during their time, so that we don't lose ourselves in our time right now. Going back to the social media thing, where everyone just kind of wants to be like everyone else. And I think it's really cool to just be weird and be yourself. And whatever that looks like, you don't have to go out your way to be weird, but you know what I mean? It's okay to be different.
yeah. Where do you get the confidence for that? Because like it's kind of it takes courage to do that. Where do you think your courage to do that comes from?
Going back to the caring thing, you kind of need to know what to not care about as well. Crazy. I don't care about opinions. I don't care what other people think. You know what I mean? Not that I'll dismiss it. I listen. Sometimes people say things of value, like, criticism is good. You can't just be in a space where you think you know everything. I know that I don't know fuck all, but the things I do know about myself, like no one can just rock up and shake those things, because I think that's essentially what you are. You have your core values and you know how you perceive yourself, and if that's solid, you can build around that. And anyone who comes through and you know teaches me something, they kind of add value to that as opposed to just being like destroying the whole house. So
Mm.
I kind of know the things that I stand for, and yeah, I let that lead the way.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I think I'm also trying to learn is that thing of learning when to say no. Because it's so easy to say yes, especially when you're starting out. You kind of have to say yes to
Mm.
everything when you're starting out because you kind of need to learn where you fit in and learn what you're good at. And you only get that through experience. But once you start narrowing down on your craft and you start, specializing, then you kind of have to shift that mentality from saying yes to everything to now saying no.
Mm.
And that discernment becomes like super important. So, like, what does that discernment look like to you? Like, how do you know what to say no to?
Bro, for me, I sat down with myself and I also did this with my manager. We kind of, um, I kind of expressed to him what matters to me. And in that, I also just kind of gave myself the opportunity to ask myself the question, what is this? What am I doing this for? So I can just get like money, so I can get rich, fuck bitches, be famous. Is that what matters to me? Or do I really want to do something a bit different to that? And fortunately for me, I've been able to get like little, you know, bite sizes of success where things are kind of just like getting better than what they were before. So I'm getting people recognize me in the street. I'm making a little bit of money off this music thing, and so forth. You know, what I mean, I'm getting attention from people that maybe usually I wasn't, and I enjoyed that for a little bit. And then I realized, like, yeah, this is kind of like an endless pit where I'll just keep doing the same stuff just to gain more popularity, make more money, and gain more fame. I don't know, buy more expensive stuff. But I just that made me realize that that's not enough for me. And I think in that I kind of just had to figure out, okay, what does this mean to me? And then once I arrived at that place, I kind of let that lead whatever decisions I'm making. Does this thing support what I'm standing for, or does it go against that? And then sometimes it looks like a great opportunity on paper, but I'm like, mm, this is not what I'm doing this for. And it just helps me turn down those things and be at peace with it. Because yeah, sometimes when somebody throws a fat bag of money on the table, you're like,
Don't worry, we're gonna talk about
you know
money.
what I mean? But you know, if you yeah, once you take that the first time, it kind of just it becomes okay to do it the next time, and then before you know it, you are just like some spineless creature,
Mm.
just like bending over for whatever money they throw at you.
Bro,
And
you become a monkey in a cage. You
yeah,
must dance.
dog, you know,
Like,
dance here.
yeah.
And I think, yeah, for me, especially in our time, we have a responsibility as people, you know, as who are in the arts, as we gain like some sense of like influence, to also just ask ourselves these questions like, what is this for? You know, what do I want to do with this? Because I really want to bring some beauty back into the world, man, and maybe help people see the beauty that already is in the world and is within themselves. And I try to lean on things that help me achieve that as opposed to just material things.
Mm. And now, how does like you mentioned your name earlier, Lucanio, has a level of significance in that what is it for? So what is it for?
So my name like kind of translates to the distributor of light. So if you think about it, light just kind of allows people to see. And I hope to do that to allow people to see the beauty in the world. Because I think life kind of gives you not to like shit on other people's circumstances. I know sometimes life is fucking tough and that's just what it is. But sometimes it also gives you room to look at the things where you choose to see the beauty or you choose to see the messed up parts of life, and what you choose to, you know, put out into the world comes sometimes is all you pay attention to. So we could see the same thing, but depending on what I'm choosing to look at, the picture might look rosier than what you're choosing to pay attention to. So maybe you could see the mud and not see the flowers and be like, ah, fuck, it's kind of dirty here. But on top of that mud, maybe, some beautiful roses are growing. I'm choosing to look at the roses and understand that, okay, sometimes it takes a bit of dirt so that something beautiful can shine and grow. And yeah, shit, I lost my train of
No,
thought.
we're talking about perspective, eh? Like perspective and how you need to shine a light on things. That
Yes.
gives perspective, right?
So that's what I aim to do. I spend a lot of time just like asking myself stuff, working on myself, trying to be the best version of myself. And hopefully, I get to inspire the people to do the same. It's not what I'll always preach in my music. I'll just also just talk about very like realistic life experiences because I don't say this stuff trying to seem like I'm the role model or I'm the poster boy. I'm like, yo, this is the guy that we should follow. And oh, I'm fucked up too. I do a lot of bad shit. And I think it's just trying your best and looking at yourself and being honest about your downfalls and trying to, I guess, improve on that. So with that, I want to share as much light as I can, be it inspiring people to be more true, to be more honest, give them room to dream and see the world in a way that they haven't, maybe through just following my journey. Maybe just inspiring them to see things differently and to choose to engage with the world in a different way.
Mm.
And that's the light I hope to distribute onto everyone.
Nice. And now that we're shining lights on things, I want you to shine a light on like the biggest bag that you secured. And what was the first thing you bought with that bag?
I'm not gonna say numbers.
It's
Yeah.
okay. Okay, you don't need to give us numbers if it's confidential information.
Yeah, but I think one of the first things I bought, I'm like a very childish kind of dude. Like I bought a bicycle.
Oh, dope, bro.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I enjoy bike rides. I enjoy like going out into nature. So like riding my bike and then going to like a forest or like some the woods or yeah, or going hiking, just riding my bike to a hiking trail. And yeah, it was one of my first big purchases. I'm very outdoorsy like that. I think I'm gonna end up like owning lake houses or like a farm or some shit and just like being away from the city. Cause I grew up in the city and at first it was like nice. I couldn't imagine myself being like in some, remote location where I can't really like see people every day.
Yeah.
And the more like I've grown up, I'm kind of like, I kind of like my space, I
Mm.
like going out into the city and engaging with people, but when I need my silence, I want to be able to have that as well. So
So, and like a lot of people in the creative space, the reason why we started this podcast, because I noticed the gap where you have people that are like super good at what they do, whether it be a musician, whether it be an artist, or I don't know, a videographer, whatever, a photographer. But one thing that I've noticed in the creative space is there's sort of like a disconnect between the craft and then the business side of like, how do you make this sustainable? How do you make it profitable? And, I think you're the perfect person to like give us or shine some more light on that conversation because you come from an accounting background. So it's like, how are you navigating the connection between like the craft and then the business side of what you do? Hey, hold on, hold on. I just need to remind you very quickly to like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment down below about what you think about this episode. We need to be able to tell the algorithm on YouTube that we are creating content that is valuable. So please engage with this content, whether you're listening to it on YouTube or on Spotify or whatever platform, please engage. It just helps us reach more people, brings more people into the community, which means more access to knowledge and opportunities for you, a member of the community. So please don't forget to engage on this video or this audio podcast and leave a like, comment, or subscribe and give it a share. Thank you so much. We'll hop back into the episode.
I think honestly, I'm still figuring it out, because as much as I do have an accounting background, when I put on the creative hat, I kind of just want to be the creator. You know what I mean? I just want to be the child. I want to be curious. I want to speak about the ideas, see what it takes to bring them to life. And I have a very like I don't, for lack of a better word, I'll say a flimsy like approach to how I see money. I don't know. I see it as like a means to getting things done.
It's a tool.
It's a tool, bro. It's a
Yeah.
tool to make things happen. And I know right now we kind of stockpile it, and people who have more are seen like as more prestigious for some reason or whatnot. And we kind of because it also allows you to live a certain lifestyle and these things, all this convenience that we've told ourselves to value so much, which kind of I feel like is the reason we're so disconnected. Um, we really value that over just like, I don't know, having I just use money to make things happen.
Mm,
Money's no good for me if it can't help me create the next project, if it can't help me get this little thing that I want right now, or if it can't help me just like live the way of life that I want to live.
mm,
So I'm learning to treat it better because I've made some of it. I've also recklessly spent some of it, but also trying to just navigate because also in the creative space, sometimes you don't get money like on a very steady kind of way. It's sometimes you get like a nice bag, and then for
mm,
the next few months, it's like kind of little bits and bobs, but nothing like serious. Sometimes not even anything. So if you don't know how to stretch it,
mm.
um, yeah, you kind of share your lost cause.
Hey man, yeah, that stretching it does become a bit of a challenge. It's
Yeah.
like that's like the sustainability check, right? Because like in order to create more, you have to live. Like you need somewhere to live, you need something to eat.
And it's something that I've been starting to like have, conversations about with fellow creatives is like starting to reinvest your money in stuff outside of the arts.
Mm,
Like maybe something as simple as having like a vehicle on Uber and
mm.
having a driver that you've hired and he's like kind of driving the vehicle. So
Yeah,
that's stuff that is like, a passive income and it's not your maybe like the thing that brings you the most money, but it helps sustain you so you're not like scrambling. Because also you don't I never want to be in a place where I'm creating from a desperate kind of point
mm,
where now I'm exploiting my art for whatever little bit of money. That goes back to like you might as well be twerking for this shit, bro.
bro.
No disrespect to people that twerk.
Hey, no.
But like, yeah, like you basically selling yourself for it. And I never want to be in that space. I always want it to be just me doing the stuff I genuinely care about and using money of, finding ways to make money so I can be able to make way for that to happen.
Yeah, and that's how you kind of make stuff with meaning, right? Because I think the commercialization of things often takes away a lot from the root core of what this thing is. And speaking on that, like root core, you know, something that I've heard you talk about is this thing of ego in your art and tying that into collaboration. How do you sort of navigate that? Like, what does that collaborative culture look like to you? Because I think the reason why it's important to ask this question is because I think in South Africa specifically, just due to like the lack of resources and I don't want to say lack of opportunity because we were talking about how much opportunity we have today, but maybe the perceived lack of
Mm.
opportunity. Often we find ourselves operating in a competitive mindset rather than a collaborative mindset. So how like what does that mean to you, that collaborative culture?
I really like it, bro, because I think with even with the community I was able to help build in Cape Town, we kind of just like help each other and we it's like a real community. And I think we've lost that in a lot of ways because it's kind of just like how our culture globally, in society is. It's like, I'm going to get it before you do, or if you get it too, I'm going to get a better one. And it's like this mindset that someone has to be top dog and we're also fighting for the spot. And it creates like this thing where we feel like we don't have enough, where I feel like in reality, if everyone isn't trying to be the same person and you're doing what truly resonates with you and connects with you, you then find your own group of people who kind of resonate with that and you help build something, a community, some things where people can connect with each other. And I feel like culturally, that has so much more value than copy pasting the same thing that you're kind of just seeing from other people. Like they're like, oh, this is the new trend. Now you got to promote your TikToks this way. This is whatever is kind of getting the most attention and the most numbers these days. And you kind of then that's where the like competitive kind of nature comes in because we're all fighting for the same eyes. Whereas for me, from the bat, I was just like, I'm not gonna play that game. I don't want to fight with everyone else. I'll just do the stuff that I genuinely fuck with, and the people who fuck with that will come through. Because I don't want to force anyone to be like, go listen to my song. Hey man, if you came across this thing and you thought it was cool and you went to go listen and you liked the song, that's great. You know what I mean? If you also came across and you were like, this is not for me, that's cool as well. But then the people who really fuck with it, I get to grow with those people. I get to share some really cool experiences because we all kind of involved in this thing that we all care about.
Yeah.
And essentially, that way, I'm actually achieving my goal of, bringing more, allowing more people to care, allow more people to, nurture the beauty that they find in the world.
Bro, that's such a dope answer. This is also why it's so important for me to bring artists on this platform because someone who kind of oscillates between these two worlds of artistry and business.
Well,
Lately I've been finding myself a lot more on the business side of things. And I think, it's nice to have your foot in both sides, because I think the best place to be lies somewhere in the middle,
mm,
because ideally, in order to do great things, you it does help to have like funding for that and to have the freedom to do that, right? Because it's not necessarily about the money, but it's about what can the money do for you.
mm,
If the money can buy you freedom of time, then that's like way more valuable than like anything else out there, because you can't just make more time. So
shit.
for me, it's like it's great to hear you talk about that, and you're really interrogating my perception on these things, because one of the things that has been sitting on my mind a lot is this new technology that's coming into the forefront with AI, and how people that are in this space are predicting that in the next like 10 years or so, most jobs that corporate 9 to 5 jobs that we do to make income are going to be automated.
Yeah.
So it creates this like shift in thinking that I don't think our brains are quite accustomed to at this point in time,
Mm,
because most people in the population of the planet Earth are thinking about, how am I going to survive? How am I going to get to that next day? How am I going to put food on the table? And this potential world that we'll be entering into is like very different to that scarcity mindset.
mm.
It now switches to an abundance mindset of like, okay, cool. If I have all of this stuff like paid for me, like now, like what do we do? And I don't know what your thoughts are on that from like a philosophical perspective.
I don't know. I think it creates more scarcity, bro.
Okay.
Think about it like the price we pay for convenience is connection.
Wow.
Cause like in order to deal with people, people are just like you need to respect that someone is having just as a real life experience as you, and they're just as much a main character in their life. So you're not better than them, you're not above them and whatnot. And whatever shit you're dealing with, you need to factor in that they're also going through life. So it kind of slows us down. You know what I mean? Well, if you're working with robots, this thing is automated. It'll always achieve this thing at this specific time. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't whatnot. But it isolates you in a sense that if you're going to do your groceries, you don't speak to a cashier, you don't speak to anyone for help. You don't, everything is kind of just here. You want to know how much something is, you scan the barcode, it tells you the price. You pay for your own stuff. So it's just you in the world. It's distancing you from other people. Therefore, it allows us to feed in more into this idea that now that robots are taking all the jobs, it's limited jobs for us. It's me versus you. I'll get this fucking job before you do. Know what I mean? Now we're not even friends anymore. Now we're competing for the same kind of stuff. Um, I feel it could go very wrong, but I also think, in another way, the optimist in me wants to believe that you know, life is a very like unique experience, bro. And maybe this is what it's gonna take for us to really go back to appreciating what life actually maybe could be about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe getting all this money and getting all these material things, you realize that something is still missing, because I feel like in this body, it's just like a shell and we all live inside it. And then, how does your soul define life? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And what are the things that you yearn to experience? Or all these things that kind of just bring us together. I think we start then maybe asking different questions. And maybe right now, we're still at a place where we're not asking the right questions yet.
Damn, bro. There's a saying by Einstein where he says, if I had to cut down a tree, I'd spend 80% of my time sharpening the axe before chopping it down. And I think
Mm.
that ties into your thing about like, you could be answering questions all the right, like all along, but if you're not answering, or if someone's not asking the right questions, that time can be completely futile. So,
Mm.
like, what questions are we asking? There's a common thread that I keep coming back to, is this like the concept of Ubuntu. And like, the pendulum is always swinging. Like that's like I always talk about these laws of life, right?
Yeah.
One of those laws of life is like the pendulum will always swing from one side to the other. It never kind of settles in the middle. And I'm wondering like if maybe us as people have kind of swung to one side too much, where we've lost that human connection. Because if you go back into history and you think about a concept like Ubuntu, where does that concept come from? It comes from us working together to survive.
Mm.
People, if you go back to like I was watching these historical programs, really nerdy programs,
Yeah.
but like going back in terms of like how people used to survive and like how the man being the head of the family, like that concept only came through industrialization
Oh,
because
shit.
back when industrialization was happening, men were the ones doing the work because it required physical labor.
Mm.
But if you go back before that to when people were living on farms and they were having to be self sustaining, everyone in the family would have to work on the farm. So the balance of power was split amongst everyone in the family.
shit.
So, like, that really, like, shifted my mind. I was like, "Damn." Like, in my mind, I was just like, "Nah, the guy traditionally is always
Always
going to
been
have power in the family." But if you go back, it wasn't always like that. So I'm wondering if, like, we've gone from this culture of, like, having to rely on each other in community to survive, and now the pendulum has kinda swung to the other side where we have Uber. And, like, if you need to eat dinner tonight, you can eat dinner tonight without like, your only other interaction you're gonna have with the person
is them
is them
dropping off.
just giving it to you. That's it. And I'm just like, I'm wondering if the pendulum swung too far on that
Yeah.
side, and maybe this, like, AI is, like, now
Gotta
kinda
swing us
swinging it
back.
back.
I hope so. I hope so. Cause I don't know. I'm very fond of the concept of Ubuntu. And I think, yeah, outside of it all, I think we're really just supposed to experience ourselves and experience other people around us. You know what I mean? And I think, yeah, the more we fixate on kind of these things we fight over, the more we distance each other from each other, and the less we get to learn from each other and have like very rich experiences. And at least I don't know if I'm speaking here with like a fuck ton of privilege, but I just kind of, yeah, man, I really I marvel at our ability to connect with each other, even being from like opposite sides of the world with very little to seemingly very little to bring us together. But there's always something. And that for me is part of the beauty in life that I see and that I'm always very curious about. And I'd like to see more of. And the idea of like AI and all this kind of like thing, being advanced and making its way into real life kind of threatens that for me. So I don't know. I always approach it with a little bit of skepticism,
Yeah.
skepticism,
Yeah.
but I'm also like I don't also believe that sticking to the old ways is gonna help us because time always marches forward, and us embracing evolution, but instead of like trying to figure out how to use it to our advantage so it doesn't tear us apart as humans.
Yeah. And that's also, like, what I've also been like, sort of discovering more of is, like, okay, AI is a tool as well. It's a very powerful tool. So the way that we use it is super, super important. And I think right now people are kind of, like you said, they're using it to survive, to compete, to bash each other down. But there's the flip side of that. Like, how do you use it to connect? How do you use it to amplify that feeling of Ubuntu or the connections that we have, between people, building that community? Um, so I guess I wanted to ask you about that, like in terms of like the music space. I assume you haven't really been using AI in any sort of form in experimental ways.
Not yet, at least.
Okay.
You never know. Cause yeah, I don't want to. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not gonna lie, but also it seems like that's where the world is headed, and you can't fight the world. You can't fight the sort of like where the it's like trying to fight a wave, where the ocean is kind of pulling you in. You kind of don't swim against that. You let it pull you in up until it can push you back out to shore again. So that's not something I'm very excited about, but it's something that I do acknowledge that there is a possibility that this thing it's gonna take over to a point where you can't avoid it,
Mm.
you know? Um, yeah, we'll see how it goes, but I think it also links back to what you're saying with Einstein about sharpening the axe. We don't know how to use it. We're developing the technology much more quicker than we're developing our minds and our interpretation and our understanding of the technology itself. So when we're using it, we're still using it with the ways that we've known how to, navigate life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
bro. Like
framework,
you
the
can't
old school
blame us.
framework.
I got some homies of mine in my hood who they don't know anything cooler than just like driving a fancy car around the neighborhood with a bad bitch on the passenger seat. And for them, that's it. You know what I mean? That's the best thing that they could aspire to. And that's not something to shame, I feel. It's just because maybe people just don't know enough to dream big enough or to see possibilities outside of that. And I think it's also just because people just maybe they haven't been exposed to the right kind of things, and just throwing this like advanced technology at people who maybe
Mm.
aren't as advanced in terms of what they know about the world. It's a very, yeah, doesn't look kind of good.
What do you think is the solution to that, bro? What do you think? Do you think there's even is that the right question?
I don't have solutions. I'm still trying to figure out the right questions myself, bro. But I think us coming together is not a bad start. You know, everyone kind of, and that's how I feel like we're gonna find the solution because we get to get everyone chipping in their, perspective, and we get to understand each other more. And the more less we fight amongst each other, the more we get to fight against the problem, and hopefully arrive at a place where we can find the solutions. So I don't know just yet, but hopefully I'm helping create that.
Nice. Bro, like talk to me about that experience that you had going outside of what you know, right? Because you spoke about how you used to move a lot as a kid. Um, you know, you recently featured on a billboard in London.
Shit.
Like, what was that like for you,
Yeah,
bro?
oh, bro, I got goosebumps when I saw it.
Yeah.
I always need to take like to factor in. I'm like a kid from the township. I'm from Ekukulete, dog, and we like this doesn't seem possible to us.
Yeah.
Like tell him some of my niggas back home, like, yo, I'm on a billboard in London. They like, what the fuck? Like that's feels so far away. But because I was exposed to the internet and all these things, like the world became so much smaller. And things like that where maybe they don't know the internet, like in other parts of the internet I know, where for them London feels like worlds apart. Whereas for me, I can go on Instagram and bump into something that has to do with British culture, some guy, roadman stuff and whatnot. And that thing kind of shrinks the world where we get to understand how they are over there. So it felt huge, but it felt even like more bigger when I spoke about it to the people from where I come from, and they like
Mm.
just let it sink in. Like this is not a light thing. This is fucking massive. It's a big achievement. So yeah,
Nah, shout out, bro. Congrats on that, dude. That's massive. And like, how do you like what's the secret sauce behind that, bro? I'm so watching. I want my face on Billboard in London
hey
too.
dog,
Like,
just cook up, just cook up. I don't know. Like one of the like I won't lie. A lot of the stuff that I do or happens to me, kind of, I couldn't say I planned a lot of it. I just set the intention.
yeah,
I set the intention and I go out for the thing that matters to me. The other things, other people sometimes join me on the way. Some of the people I work with, I've done some of my best work with. They met me along the way where I was just kind of, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to push. And I kind of just like get support as I go, bro. Like I never dreamt about having a billboard in London. And then it happened. I was like, whoa, this is fucking crazy. And even now, I don't feel like I've necessarily achieved what I want to do by that. It's a great, achievement to be like, oh, this is a cool thing that happened. But that's not the end all and be all. You know what I mean? Like I'm on a journey of mine to bring out beauty into the world. And luckily enough, I've just been bumping into people who've been feeling just as passionate.
nice, bro. Yeah, it's always weird because like sometimes when you want something really bad, sometimes it just like keeps feeling like it gets further and further away,
Oh yeah,
and you kind of have to like you have to kind of tap into what's within in order to get closer to that, than chase what it is, right? And that's kind
ex-
of what I'm getting from what you're saying.
exactly. Tapping in within, bro. I, it sounds very like mythical. Shit, I don't know. It sounds like cause I have some homies of mine who I try to explain this shit to, and they like, bro, give me a tangible solution. Give me something. And I'm out here just like, you know what, bro? Maybe you just need to get out of your own way, and maybe you just need to like just let it be. And
Yeah.
that tends to work for me. I don't get worked up about a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff I try doesn't maybe work out, but I'm able to acknowledge the things that do work out and understand that that's just part of how life is. Part of you figuring things out is fucking things up.
Mm.
And sometimes on your path to getting things right, things didn't go right at all. And maybe someone just sees me on this billboard and is like, this guy's fucking lucky. And granted, I do feel lucky, hence even the title of the album, Lucky You. But there's work in that, and there's hours and stuff that I've did, and shit that I've invested into this that no one saw. And in that time, it felt very hopeless because I was like, I'm just doing this shit. But if I was so obsessed about getting that billboard, getting the tangible thing, then I could have given up a time, like a long time ago. But I know that those things aren't what I'm pushing for. So when they do happen, I'm able to celebrate them as like genuine gifts. Like, wow, I can't believe this happened. But that's not what I do it for.
Yeah. And it's a mindset and an energy. And it's like, how do you explain that to someone? It's not something that you explain, it's something that you feel. For me, I don't know. So it's like it's difficult to explain like a feeling because it's so personal to you.
All
I
right.
think the best way to show it is to kind of be it, and then that kind of rubs off on the people around you, which then kind of attracts the things that you're looking for just by being it or
Yeah.
embodying it, right? So like talking about lucky you, like what does that embody for you?
Bro, it's just the serious stuff that happens in my life where I'm like, this is who writes this
My
stuff?
life is a movie.
It's a movie. It's a movie. It's yo, bro. I won't lie to you. Cause some of the stuff it feels like too surreal.
Yeah.
I had this one ring. Like I'm not wearing any rings today, but I love gold jewelry and I collect rings. And I had this one gold ring that had like a four-leaf clover on it, and
Okay.
it was my favorite ring. And I was doing this other show like in the Commons. I performed, and then this other girl saw this live performance, sent me a DM of just about how like she enjoyed the performance, and I didn't see it until like some time later. I think it was just on our last day in Cape Town, and we linked up, and we kind of just had like a cool day and fun day, and we spoke, and it kind of got spiritual at some point.
Okay.
And we spoke about some like spiritual beliefs and purpose and what you feel like your connection is to the earth, and what you feel like your role is and stuff like that. And she kind of said like some stuff that was very telling, and I felt like in that time I really needed to hear. And she gave me the spiritual book to read, and I felt so touched by that moment. I kind of felt like I needed to give her something as well. So I took the ring off my finger and I asked her to hold on to it. And if I do ever see it again, I'm hoping she'll have it. And that I kind of like soon after that regretted it because I was like, "Whoa, that was my favorite ring, bro." And there was something about that four-leaf clover, and I felt like I'd given my luck away. Literally, no more than 2 weeks later, I'm back at the Commons. I'm watching the banner perform at the High Rollers perform with someone else, and they having the show. And I speak to this other lady who's like a captain of a ship, which I also thought was fucking cool.
What?
Yeah, she's
Woo.
a sailor. I was like, what the fuck? So we're having this like cool conversation, whatnot. And I'm struggling to get a ride back home, and she's like, okay,
Hop
cool.
on my
Let's
ship.
just. I would have been crazy. But nah, she's like, okay, the venue's closing. They're gonna kick us out of here. Let's go wait at my place while you wait for the Uber. And I was like, oh, it's very polite. Thank you. I walk into our apartment and she goes to the bathroom quickly. And as I walk into the living room and sitting area, on the coffee table is her diary, and on top of it was a real life four-leaf clover.
Mad.
I picked it up and I'm kind of just like marveling at it. And she walks out of the bathroom. She sees me holding it. She's like, oh, that's pretty cool. Do you want to have it? And I'll be like, sure. She's like, yeah, I find a bunch of these all the time. And it kind of felt like, even when I give the luck away, it finds its way back to me. So hence, the name Lucky You. And I don't know, I just generally feel lucky a lot of the times. Like, what are the odds that I'm here, knowing where I grew up and where I came from and all the things that were kind of odds that were stacked against me to still be here, speaking about some just let it be and harness the voice within, be doing what I love and being lucky enough to get this far with it and having so much room to still grow.
Bro. So like essentially lucky you is a gift. And if you haven't yet received it, go check it out. All right. You spoke about how you wanted to come to Joburg, step outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you a question. Please don't feel pressured. Okay.
Okay, okay, okay.
What are the chances that we could get you to freestyle for us?
Ah, dog. Here's my thing with freestyles. Here's my thing with freestyles. I love rapping, né? But I only want to do that at like a rap platform. I'll rap for Sway. You
I
know what I mean?
I
Cause also like Vince Staples once said something very crazy. He's like, I don't know why they do this to rappers, but like no one asks an R&B singer to rock up and
Start
start
singing.
singing.
I was actually thinking about that because we had
Rappers
Chimamanda
always have to
James.
prove themselves. Like,
Bro.
if an engineer walked in here, you'd believe this guy engineers. You wouldn't be like, make me a quick robot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of that stance where, like, I love to rap, don't get me wrong, but like, I don't want to get on every platform and have to start rapping.
I
Go
get
listen
you.
to the music, bro. I go to studio, I record raps.
No, I had to shoot my shot, bro. I had to shoot my shot. I had like 3 AI generated tracks that I wanted you to listen to
Oh, yeah.
and then choose one to freestyle over. G-
Ah,
So like
see,
it's
now
all
I
good
even
though.
avoided a trap. Yo, they're gonna call.
They're not bad though. I'll play you them after this. They're
Oh,
not
wait.
bad. Well, I don't know. Actually, I'm curious to hear your opinion on them.
All right.
Okay, cool. No, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, cool. So then in terms of like the album, right? You know, we spoke earlier about that concept of collaboration, right? So like can you tell me like what does the collaboration look like behind the album? Because I assume there
Sure.
are people that are involved, um,
A lot of
directors,
people.
various fashion designers. Like what is the involvement? How do you navigate that? How do you keep to the core of that project?
Bro, funny enough, I've been like really asking myself like this question because it's been coming up a lot. Like you bump into people in spaces, and especially in like creative spaces, and they're like, "Hey, my name's so and so. What do you do?" Or "I do this. What do you do?" And I never quite felt comfortable saying I just rap. I never quite felt comfortable saying I sing or I just do music because I also know there's other stuff I'm very passionate about that maybe I haven't explored as much and I'm still getting into, and which is film and also fashion. So in that, I kind of just really had to ask myself, like, what do I actually do? Because even when I make music, I'm not in control of everything. I'm working with other producers, I'm working with other vocalists and whatnot. Writing is something I take a lot of pride in. So in the album, I kind of wrote everything except for one verse. It's like a guest feature verse, and it's one of the best verses I've heard in my life. Oh my God, it's so good. I'm so excited. I even want to name drop this person, but I won't. Um, and that's something I take pride in, and I know like I trust myself to be very good at writing songs, especially at least songs I like. And when it comes to playing instruments, I don't play any instruments, but I also don't have the best ear, so I can't necessarily hear chord progressions. I can't, tell them apart right now. I'm something I'm still getting into, and I'll trust the people I'm working with because they're like, trained in this. Some of them are just like incredibly talented and playing from young. And I think that's where the community aspect and the collaboration comes in. It's like me trusting myself to do the thing I feel very comfortable with, but also leaning onto other people as I have this vision. Cause I'll be like, yo, I hear the bass line going like this, and I'll hum a melody. And then the guy who plays bass will try to recreate and be like, oh, that note is a little off key. I think you mean this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, exactly. That is what I mean. You know what I mean? And working with these people who are also great at what they do, but just being fortunate enough to have them trust this vision. Some of them will be like, I don't see where this is going, but I'll trust you know what you're doing. And I'll take it to a few other people, work on the song. And then like a month later, I bring it back to them. They're like, oh shit, I didn't see it turning out this way. But it's that. It's like leaning on each other's strengths and understanding that you won't be the best at everything. And it's okay to stand out of your way and let your ego, get out of the room and give someone else the opportunity to shine. And that's where I landed on this place where I kind of just feel like I make way. I make way for ideas to materialize. Be it when I'm like directing music videos, my music videos, there's one that's coming out or that's out. And it kind of, I'm not the lead role in it. I don't appear in the video at all. I just made the song and I directed the music video, and it allowed me to step more into that seat of being a director. And people are starting to, acknowledge that, like, oh shit, the Open Casket music video is cool. The Venture music video is kind of fire. And hearing that, and it kind of just affirms that, okay, cool. I am on the right path. And also there's still room for me to grow, but I'm just allowing myself to make way for all these ideas that I have to kind of surface. So I see myself as being the person having the overall vision, and then I work with the team to try and tackle everything through and make sure that we get to the best possible end product we can.
The Master Chef.
Ah, dog. But
Nice, bro.
it really takes teamwork. I think, anything great to build a building, bro, not one person can do this. Someone can design it. Someone has to pick out the lights. Someone picks out the painting. Someone picks out something else. But it's everyone's, chipping in. And I think that's how we get the most groundbreaking stuff. And It's what I hopefully like I hope to do, to just challenge, like, you know, what we've done before, take all my inspirations and run with it and fly with it and take and reinterpret that in my own way and how I see the world.
So cool. So we spoke about the secret ingredients. We spoke about how you got cooked. We spoke about the secret sauce. What's next on the menu beyond Lucky You?
Bro, I'm figuring it out as I go. I take a project at a time, and I try not to ask too much from the world, more than I can, handle. And if things come my way, I take them as I go. But I'm really, really passionate right now about getting into film, passionate about getting into fashion, and I'm playing around with some designs, and I'm playing around with like some scripts that I'm writing for like feature films. And these are all things that I hope to explore. I don't have like a timeline that this one's gonna come out first. I just I get these ideas. I do my best to get them as far as I can, and I just trust that the right people will meet me when I have the right thing to present, and then we go from there. So I'm just excited as everyone to see how things go,
Nice. Dope. Lucanio,
bro.
pleasure having you, bro.
It's been a pleasure cooking.
Everyone is a director of their truth. Everyone is a director of their social media. Everyone is a director of who they talk to, who they call. You're directing every day of your life.
You've seen his family collective, Dirabane, splashing color across Gucci, Kenzo, and Nike campaigns.
We are cultural architects. People globally look to what's happening locally through our eyes.
You've scrolled past his mind-bending tech-infused art at Usurper, Africa's first fine art NFT gallery.
As creatives, we're one of the most open people to converse about mental health, financials, and our partnerships and our deals.
Today we have something special on the menu. Multidisciplinary artist and creative director, KK Rabane.
Give me one script that says this is going to the Dome at Vert or the Sphere in Vegas. You'll see what comes out of that.
And if that's not spicy enough, he's directed Kulichana's award-winning Kuliano visuals.
There's always two lives. There's the one you leave on the internet and the one that people experience after you've left.
KK is living proof that Afrofuturist ideas can cash real checks. We're diving into family collaboration, brand deals, and how his son inspired the kidswear brand Mungu Creative Lab. So grab your favorite spice and let's get cooking. KK, it's a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for watching this latest episode of the C.Cast. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe. We're trying to achieve a huge mission and we need you to invest in it. The best way to do that is by liking, sharing, and subscribing, and leaving a comment down below. By doing that, you help the algorithm understand that we are offering content that is valuable and it will reach more people. There might also be someone out there that just wants to learn a lesson or who might be able to take something away from the podcast. Share it with them. And lastly, if you would like to be more involved in the community, if you want access to opportunities, knowledge from our experience in the digital marketing space, or to connect with other people who are like-minded and uplifting the continent, starting businesses and using tech and creativity to make them successful, join the WhatsApp group by scanning the QR code and we'll chat with you there. Until then, bye.